Hello, Professor Marcus. This is Anusha, and this is the couture dress that I was supposed to make. I'm so sorry, I've never recorded my voice, and I'm a bit uncomfortable, and I don't think I like my voice when I hear it on the tape. I hope you are having a wonderful summer. Anyways, I took some pictures last night. The illustration and the flat sketches I tried to make with Illustrator took me a long time, so I apologize for it, especially with Illustrator. I'm sure there's like a shorter ways to do it, but I'm not very professional at it, to use those kind of brushes. So I had to actually make the 21 layers that this dress has. I had to make it by hand, all of it within Illustrator. So basically, do you remember, like, at first I really didn't know how the Christian Dior made this like two maximums here and there and on the side seams. How did it make the layers to go up at certain points? So at first I thought that I will make three circles in the front and two circles in the front and three circles at the back, and it didn't work because it was too flowy. I'm sorry, I'm nervous, so my English is not very good on tape. But it didn't work, and then I realized that there's just too much flow. So I decided to reduce the circles, and I realized that the ups and downs, it only comes from the way that you stitch the layers. As an undergarment, I used net, a very stiff net, because here they didn't have Siri, and it was very costly for me to order everything from New York. I actually ordered some the horsehair, the thin horsehairs. It took them 2 weeks for it to get to Dubai, and by the customs and all the taxes and all the shipping, for like a little bit horsehair I had to pay like $150 or more, so it didn't worth it. And then I realized by looking at the pictures that using horsehair at the end of the edges, it's not good, because the stitch line, as much as, even like if you are very very professional, the stitch line, it will show, and it doesn't have a nice look, especially that in Christian Dior babies, we have a shop of Christian Dior for babies in Dubai. I went there and I actually saw a dress with very similar pattern of skirt, and then I looked at it and I saw that they used this technique. So what is the technique? For each of these layers, I looked at it and I saw that they just folded it and pressed it, like they took a bias organza, they folded it in the middle and then pressed it, okay, and then just stitched it. And when you press it, actually when you press it, it's because it's a silk organza, you have to be very careful with it. So I had to press it with a very thin cotton cloth, because it has to be thin, because otherwise the pressing will not be as good as it would be with a thicker cloth. So I made sure that that cotton cloth, it has a very light weight. So I used that cloth and I took the bias, I cut bias or bias tapes, how do you say it, bias tapes of organza. Like I cut the organza in bias, okay, and then I just folded it and pressed it. But before I do, because I got a whole roll of like the white organza and pink organza and gray organza, and I just you know what I did is that, you know, they taught us in sewing one, which I had with Miss Professor Bridget Conti. She showed us how to stitch the bias, like two bias together. So I did it I used that technique. And at first I just stitched the biased by the bias cuts, the way Bridget Conti taught us. And then after it was all done, I just did it with a quarter inch, but quarter-inch seam allowance. But then I cut it, the rest of it, with a scissor. So basically nothing really shows here. I mean, like it's like you don't see the seam, and because there's so many layers, the stitch line doesn't show. And I think that is exactly what Christian Dior did, because there is no way, I mean, like there is no fabric wide enough to make such a skirt. So this is actually the technique that Christian Dior also used. So as for the layers, I decided that, you know, for the colors, you know, here in Dubai, it's not, of course, New York. New York is the most amazing city in the world, and the fabrics here are not as many as the variety that you would have in New York. So I had to actually mix two colors of organza to create another shade, a shade in between. That's one thing that I'm going to go through and tell you, but I have to send you several videos, because I think to give you the whole description in one video, it's going to be it's not going, I will not be able to send it over email. So I'm just gonna, this would be part 1, and I am going to just record part 2 in another 6 minutes or 7 minutes video. Thank you.